been written that we are ascending, cause we're the descendants of the source of all existence. Yeah, it's been written that we are ascending, cause we're the descendants of the source of all existence. I have arisen, I'm switching my vision, the spirit is in me, my mission is clear and I started.
Taking a moment to open our hearts, to breathe in some fresh prana into our heart center. If we feel a little tight or heavy in the heart, may we breathe some love consciously in this moment into the heart. Take a couple of these breaths, if you may. Bring yourself into this container, this transmission, this vibratory field of ascending beyond limitations, the raw material law of one. You're welcome.
Welcome in. Welcome in with an unconditional love, heart, clarity, space. Mine. I have an unconditionally loving and clarity heart space. I'm open to the divine. I'm open to Ra. I'm open to my higher self. I'm even open to my egoic self because I'm learning here just like you are. So I want to begin this session with where I was given to open 3 books today. Hello, welcome in. Welcome in. Again, I say welcome in. So here we go. This is, yes, it is, the Kabbalion. And so far, the divine has been starting us out with this. So it's number 6. It's called the Divine Paradox. It says, the half-wise recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe. Imagine that they may defy its laws. Such are vain and presumptuous fools, and they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and the art of alchemy transmutes that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumphs. Mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, or fantastic imaging or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master, the Kabbalion. Here we are getting wonderful information. There's infinite amount of information to be given to us. Not one right way, but a way that we have the free will to choose if it's right for us. It's saying it would be folly if we didn't take it and assess it. If we didn't use what we might call our common sense to ask a question, not just believe a circumstance, even if I'm telling you about what I did and how I grew and what the tools that I use, it would be folly of me to tell you, you can only do it that one exact way. And not tell you that you can try it on for size, see how it fits you. You might want to say, hey, some of this fits me, I can adjust it, like a tailor goes in and alters a wedding dress that's given down from the mother to the daughter. This is what this information is for. Ra is saying, I'm giving you what we used. I'm giving it to you without trying to usurp your free will right to make choices. I'm giving you this so that you can make a choice for yourself to grow and expand. That's what we're here to do today. It's not that we're trying to talk you into going out and buying the series of books. We're not getting any kickbacks from that. We've been doing this for the last 2 years because we've been called to share it with you, to open it up to you, to invite you in, and for you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. This is an infinite universe we have. We're hoping that you ascend beyond the limitations of the box that we all might think we're in. Not just you, someone else. I certainly knew I was in a box. I started asking questions when I was very young. Doesn't make me better than you. That's when I started asking the questions. But now, guess what? I've grown to ask more questions, even to Ra. Over to you, Marcus. Are we ready?
Ooh-wee. Are we ready? You just hit us with a vibratory field to help us remember that we are the embodiment of the 7 seals. Uh-oh. Are we about to take the red pill? We're about to go into the raw frequency, somewhere between sound, light, and vibrational resonancy. Uh-oh.
Oh.
I just want to let everyone know that I am going to be recording music again soon. So be on the lookout for some King Christo music coming soon. And I also wanted to share something that it's been a beautiful, beautiful brewing project that's coming. And boy, I can't wait. So we are going to be launching the first ever Galactic News Team, and it's going to be called the Galactic Guidance Report. And every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, myself and fellow Sacred Kingdom members, including maybe even Sandee every once in a while, we're going to be sharing some different cosmic messages and reports to help you guys prepare for the next upcoming week. So we're going to do astrology for the week coming up. We're going to do gene keys and human design, as well as galactic wave spells for the week. We're going to talk about different chakras and how you can maybe bring a focus to a chakra for a week, as well as draw an ascended master teaching. And then on top of that, we're also going to give you hands-on energy practices during the live sessions. And then also connect you with different herbal remedies and crystals that you may use for the week as well. And then on top of that, fitness, nutrition, and much more, as we do have nutritional fitness women's coach in our community. And then we have many different readers, practitioners, artists, and organic product makers. And it's going to be such a beautiful ongoing project for you guys to be a part of, to help you guys just be able to consciously and step into some different ways to go about your weeks. So be on the lookout. First episode will be on the 25th of this month, and our episode will be themed about preparing and helping us get ready for the Lionsgate portal, as the Lionsgate portal will be coming up on the end of the month, and then it'll be ending on August 12th, with 8/8 being the peak of the Lionsgate. So check it out and get ready. Good Light Broadcast Network. And with that, let's dive in and meditate with Ra.
All right. Book 4. The questioner says, hold on, let me get my bookmark off the page. Okay. The questioner says, the 15th archetype is the matrix of the spirit and has been called the devil. Can you tell me why this is so? I am Ra. We do not wish to be facile in such a central query, but we may note that the nature of the spirit is so infinitely subtle that the futition or futitioning influence of light upon the great darkness of the spirit is often not as apparent as the darkness itself. The progress chosen by many adepts become a confused path as each adept attempts to use the catalyst of the spirit. And when they typed or when they wrote this book, the catalyst of the spirit was capitalized. Catalyst or the first letter of catalyst was capitalized, and the letter of spirit was capitalized. Few there are which are successful in grasping the light of the sun. Far by the majority of the adepts, and remember adepts, that's us, we're consciousness. We're consciousness in material form. Okay. Remain groping in the moonlight. And as we have said, this light can deceive as well as uncover hidden mysteries. Therefore, hold on a second. Therefore, the melody, shall we say, of the matrix often seems to be a negative and evil, as you would call it, nature. It is also to be noted that an adept is one which has freed itself more and more from the constraints of the thoughts, opinions, and bounds of other selves. Whether this is done for self or for service, or for service to others or service to self, it is necessary part of the awakening of the adept. This freedom is seen by those not free as what you would call evil or black. The magic is recognized. Remember, magic is also another word for energy, is recognized. The nature is often not. Guys, we all have a free will. Being triune, as I would call it, and somebody else might call it something different. Body, mind, and higher being, soul, or spirit, whatever you choose to call it. And I'm quite sure there are other, mind, in other books that that the divine is mind. Everything starts with a thought. Okay? And we get to choose how we identify the light and the dark. We can call it a devil. We can call it greed. We can call it a lot of things. We could call it hate. We can call it envy. We can call it malice. We can call it love. We can call it joy. We can say that we're coming. We're taming the darkness within us. We're taming our egoic self. We're allowing our egoic self to learn. Nothing is just, everything is oneness, but nothing is just one way. Even the person who is doing the most egregious thing thinks that they're having this story and their story is correct for them, only them, in this person there. Not what they're doing outwardly to others, but inside the psyche of them, how they're defining their darkness or their light. Right? I'm not saying that a bully gets to walk all over you, but a bully is having its own story, right? Inside. And from the inside, it starts taking the information from the inside. It could be the unconscious realm. That unconscious story about whatever was happening that allowed it to become the title of a bully. And then it takes that story and it projects it outward. Not a right or a wrong as far as the inward is seeing it, definitely felt a different way from the person receiving it. Right? Over to you, Marcus.
Man, I was over here sitting here ready for you to continue.
Oh, you're ready for me to continue? Then I'll do another one. All righty. Let's keep going.
I'm loving this.
The questioner asked, could you say then that implicit in the process of becoming adept is the seeming polarization towards service to self, because the adept becomes disassociated with many of his kind? I am raw. This is likely to occur. The apparent happening in disassociation, whether the truth is service to self or thus true disassociation from other selves and service to others, and thus true association with the heart of all other selves, and disassociation only from the illusory husk which presents the adept from correctly perceiving the self and other self as one. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. It took me a long time to truly understand when someone is doing something to me. I finally got what unconditional love is. Because unconditional love is you love them because that's another version of yourself seeking an experience in this third density framework. Right? It's another version of yourself being consciousness. seeking itself. So, example, this is just an example, guys. So if Marcus did or said something that really hurt me, and I had to take it and internalize it and go, why me? Right? Because first I address myself as the victim. Why did he do that to me? Right? And then go, oh, he's the other half of consciousness that is seeking a story, and I'm here for purpose. What is this show? What is this teaching me, and what is this teaching him? This situation, this circumstance. Then it doesn't become why me, it becomes what's the lesson? That's the other half of consciousness in that story that's having a moment, a now moment, that's learning something about itself in physical form. Not a right or a wrong. Don't get it wrong, though. We get to learn from that. And right and wrong helps us identify what we like and we don't like, what we want and we don't want, what we're learning and what we decide why we're learning it. Sometimes one of us can be in our higher self. We got there first, and the other one is learning. And maybe I'm there to help Marcus learn, or he's there to help me learn. And maybe I'm thinking his abrupt verbal skills were harsh. But maybe once I go, well, what am I supposed to learn from that? If I just sit back and I look at the other self having this moment and why I showed up right now, right here for this, what can I bring to the table to help me learn and help him learn? It's not easy breezy. It's really not. I don't believe, me personally, I don't believe. You can, it can resonate however it needs to resonate with you. I don't believe that life was meant to be perfect. I believe that it was energy asking to be given a directive on how to move. And sometimes when it's not conscious, then we're telling it how to move, and it's moving exactly how it's going to move for you. And sometimes the result of that is uncomfortable, is unkind. Sometimes it can be so totally comfortable and so totally loving. There's infinite possibilities. We're here to help you move out of the box of limitations and go beyond that. Over to you, Marcus. Or do you want me to continue?
No, that's okay. I can share for sure. I just really like how we're kind of talking about the free will we have of our mentalism and the way that we use our mentalism. As in, how do you go and choose to perceive and interact with this experience at hand? Are you going to see it as, oh man, this is too much? Or are you going to see it as, oh, this is challenging. I feel this pain right now, but I know I'm going to get through this pain. I'm going to become even stronger through this pain. Or is it, you hear a story from someone or they're sharing and you instantly go into victimhood. And then they tell you, oh, I'm not seeking victimization. I'm just sharing this because this is an experience and I want to share the wisdom from it. In that type of case, it's a great example of, oh, okay. I mean, kind of take a step back and you look at, okay, where am I projecting things? Where am I perceiving things in life? Am I maybe projecting what could be unsolved trauma? Am I projecting unsolved wounds that could be carried in my mind, body, emotion field? And that got triggered through that experience. So then unconsciously, no shame, filled with grace, this came out as an impulsive experience. And, with that, we literally get to choose in each one of these interactions we have with ourselves and in the world. What is it that I'm going to choose to do with it, with my mind, body, emotions? And I really love too how Ra kind of mentioned, how much energy and how much time you give things and how much you focus your energy on something, knowing that you have the free will to be able to redirect and to be able to shift your focus and the way that you're seeing your experience. So I just find that very fascinating. And I know there's this quote, it's also in the Kabbalion, and it's in the first half of it before you even get into the actual numbers. There's a quote, and it talks about the experiencer getting entangled with the experience, and then the experiencer identifying itself as the experiences. And it talks about how the adepts or the alchemists, they study to learn how to detach from this. Because according to alchemy and these principles, we understand that we are in this creation, but creation is an illusion. It's a temporary field of existence that we are in. So while being in this, we go into the journey of remembering and embodying that, oh yeah, I am more than this material creation. I am more than the illusion. I am the experiencer that plugged itself in to this play field, to this puzzle to be a part of. And with that, I have free will with this puzzle piece that I am within, the container that is divinely aligned for me to be this. I get to do whatever I want with it. Literally, whatever I want. Now, it doesn't mean there's not ways and mechanics and laws at play in this creation field that we're in, though. And that's where life gets a little tricky sometimes for some of us, is remembering that, yes, and this is kind of greatly summing up what Ra is talking about, is that, yes, we are all one. We are all connected to the 0 point source. But while we are in this veiled experience of creation, we are experiencing what it means to be fractals, or to be multiple, and to also have individual free will journeys. And that's where it gets a little tricky, is that paradox. It's like, oh, okay, we're all one. So maybe I should just let everything pass by. If we put this in an everyday context, if that is the case, then if, we're just all one and everything is all good and we don't have to take action, we don't have to do things with this character, this avatar that we have. Okay, so why are you waking up? Why are you getting out of bed? Why are you choosing to go to the specific job that you're going to? Why is it that we can drink water, but we can't drink bleach if we're just all one? If we're all one, then I should be able to drink bleach and nothing will happen to my organs, right? And that's where that paradox comes in. It's like, yeah, we're all one, but we have this unique experience of being a individual free will avatar that gets to play around in the illusion. And wow,
And guys, I didn't know
what
my
a
mic was
fascination.
off. I was going, he is not telling you to go drink bleach. Somebody is going to get that wrong. He's using that as an example. The divine
boy.
wants to tell you
Definitely
that's
not.
just an example, right, of this 3D experience that we're having. Okay? I'm just saying. Somebody's going to put in the comments somewhere at some point, and no, that's not what he was telling you. He was just using an example. I'll give you another one. Perfect example. I know everybody has watched every Matrix movie there is. But in the first Matrix movie, they showed you a version of consciousness. Everybody hooked up in their little pods, each one hooked up, attached to consciousness, a version of what consciousness is. Whether it was the computer or simulation or whatnot, and each one having a version of their portion of the consciousness, an individual story or experience, but all hooked up to the same consciousness, all hooked up in the pods with the little, all the little tubes coming out of it and everything. And when he was walking and looking at this, becoming shocked at what was happening, it was like, this is a version of what the Matrix is. And he said, not all of them are going to be free yet. Not all of them are there yet. And the question you have to ask yourself is first to yourself. You get to ask, why am I waking up now? What do I need to know? How, growth and expansion. How come these certain people are in my life activating me? We're taught to call it triggering, but I've learned that when I call it activating, it takes me into learning more instead of out of not wanting to be triggered, not wanting to feel that. If I go into it and I say, oh, this is energy activating me to give it another request. What have I learned about this experience? What have I learned about this person that's been in my life? Because it can actually be that this person is not there for my highest and greatest good. And it's now I have to move on because it's consciousness growing. I had to get that out. It was in there and I had to get it out because the divine just kept yelling it at me. Share it with them. Back to you, Marcus. Whew. He'll be back shortly. There he is. There he is.
Huh? Did you send it back to me?
Yes, there he is. My other self. My other self. His name is Marcus Christolight Robbins. My other self. Having a story. having an experience, and I'm included in it. Wow! I'm excited. Over to you now. Really over to you. Oh my goodness.
Well, over to you, because I just shared.
All right. So now I understand why this book was what the divine wanted me to share. It's called Act of Consciousness. It's on chapter 14. I'm not telling you to go to buy the book, but if you have it, it says, power is an illusion. At the core of all things, there is no power. There is no need for it. Power is an illusion. Did you just go, what? I did too when I read that. Your soul has no power. It is pure consciousness without need for power or even energy. Power is one of the grandest illusions of all. For eons of time, it has been used for manipulation and control by angels and humans. Power is used by those who are trying to get energy from outside themselves. As you come into the consciousness of alignment, you become aware that power is an illusion. Power basically means the collection, storage, and application of energy. And the game of power has been played in the angelic realms almost since the beginning. And the divine wants me to end there. Angelic realms is just their labels of energy that is consciousness, that is others in different realms that came to play in this density. They know how the game is played. They know how to manifest through energy, because it's not about power, really. It's that it is. Energy has never been created, nor can it be destroyed. Why? Because it's the consciousness of the divine. Energy has come to be whatever you want it to be. And you're the alchemist that gets to turn the energy into whatever you want it to be for you. First, you got to know what it is you want to change or create. And then you got to know that you know that you know that you know, not just believe, that you are the wielder of that energy. You are the alchemist. The next question is, could I say then that implicit in the process of being adept is the seeming polarization towards service to self, because the adept becomes disassociated with many of his kind? I'm going to say that one more time. The questioner says, could I say then that implicit in the process of becoming adept in the seeming polarization towards service to self, because the adept becomes disassociated with many of his kind? I am raw. This is likely to occur. The apparent happening is disassociation, whether the truth is service to self, or thus true dissociation from other cells and service to others, and thus true association with the heart of all other cells, and disassociation only from the illusory husk, which prevents the adept from correctly perceiving the self and the other self as one. Questioner: then you say that this effect of disassociation on the service to others adept is stumbling block or slowing process in reaching the goal to which he aspires. Is this correct? This is incorrect. This disassociation from the miasma of illusion and the misrepresentation of each and every distortion is quite necessary portion of an adept's path. It may be seen by others to be unfortunate. You got to go through what you go through. You make a choice. It doesn't come out being what you want it to be or feeling the way you want to feel it. And then you've got to feel it so that you can get to the next level of where you're going. Whether it's being disillusioned by a person, place, or thing, hurt by a person, hurt by a bad choice, you're going to feel it. If you don't surrender yourself to it and allow yourself to feel it, then most likely you will not move on to something that feels a little bit better, or make a different choice that gives you a different clarity, right? Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Just because that came to me doesn't mean that what I read will come to you that way. Okay? The questioner says, then is this from the point of view of the 15th archetype somewhat of an excursion into the matrix of the spirit in this process? Does this make any sense? I am wrong. The excursion of which you speak and the process of disassociation is most usually linked with that archetype that you call hope, which we would prefer for you to call faith. This archetype is the catalyst of the spirit. And because the illuminations of the potentiator of the spirit will begin to cause these changes in the adept's viewpoint. One more question, and then we're going to hand it over, question and answer. And the divine is telling me to hand it over to Marcus. The questioner says, I didn't intend to get too far ahead of my questioning process here. The positively and negatively polarized adept, then, is building a potential to draw directly on the spirit of power. Is this correct? I am wrong. It would be more proper to say that the adept is calling directly through the spirit to the universe for its power, for the spirit is a shuttle. Would you like me to read that one again? I am raw. It would be more proper to say that the adept, me and you, is calling directly through the spirit to the universe for its power. For the spirit is a shuttle. Over to you, Marcus. Okay, we're going to keep reading until he comes back. Questioner. Ah, he's back.
Okay. Technology's being a little slow, but I'm here. So, if I recall correctly, did Ross say something about the word miasma
Yes, he
that
did.
starts with an M?
Yes, he did. Hold on a second.
Oh,
Let me go back
oh
to
man.
my asthma. Hold on.
Okay. Yep. I know exactly why. I'm about to show you guys why as well.
Okay, show us, because I think I've been reading so much I might have had it in the other page. Yeah, it's a little bit further back than I thought.
So miasma.
I'm hoping I pronounced it correctly.
So yeah. So what Ra's kind of helping us understand is basically the law of karma. And if you're aware of the law of karma and just what karmic energy is and why we have it. Oh, my computer's like glitching kind of. It's kind of weird. Hold on a second. Okay, here I am. Okay. Technical difficulties, everyone. Please bear with us. Well, okay, so miasma. So miasma is kind of like, in a way, when you think about karma, the law of karma, it's basically like, I'm going to become very detailed with this. It's something I've been really liking to do is really, really detail this in a way that is very relative to the 3D experiences that we have as humans. So one way of contrast or connection when it comes to karma or miasma is you can think of basically like the residual energy or the residual impact that an experience has on your mind, body, emotions. And basically, the impact is the effect from the cause that took place. So, for example, very, very easy way to see the law of karma is you and yes, although you don't mean to touch the stove, it wasn't your intention to touch the stove, it doesn't mean that things cannot still happen to you in this free will life, in this third dimensional reality that we're in, because there's other free will energies at play interacting with you with your free will. And it's a living moment. It's a living experience. You're either, as I say, you're living through it or you're dead through it. Basically, you're not alive. You're just allowing the world to live you instead of living with the world. But back to my example is, so you have your stovetop on, Now you have your stovetop on, so now it becomes like, it's knowledge, it's truth in this moment. The truth in this moment is that the stovetop is on. So now, while we're in this present living moment of experience, that is a truth, is that stovetop is on. So if you know that is a truth or a fact right now in this present moment, then it'll be hot, so you don't touch it with your fingers so it doesn't burn your fingers. But although you can say step away from the stove and then you come back and you're not paying attention to what you know as a fact, which is that the stove is hot right now, just because you're not paying attention and just because it's not your intention to get burnt, doesn't mean that once you accidentally touch it because you weren't paying attention and you forgot, that you're not going to get burnt. So then you come out of your room, you go over to the stovetop, and then you touch it after you knew it was hot, but you forgot. So now, because of that, what is your karma? Your karma is now you have to treat a burn on your finger. And that is just a simple example of how karma works, basically. It's that simple. It's that, this to that. And the more we can kind of come into the understanding of that, or the attunement of that, the law of karma, then when we just accept it for what it is, we're able to, so to say, speed up or accelerate the amount of time that we have to move through density of our experiences. So it's like, instead of getting angry, fighting, calling yourself names because you forgot that it was hot, you could just channel your breath and just focus on the healing of it. And oftentimes people will see that it starts to relax, it starts to soothe rather than progressing. So it's subjective, I would say, when it comes to this. And that's why if people ever ask me questions, especially in a broad way, I'm like, well, a lot of this stuff in the universe, it's all subjective because, it depends on the different components at play, who you are, the genetics that you are, and like all these different experiences. And then it depends on like, do you do well with reacting to hot things, or, there's so many different things that can happen and come into play. So yeah, I just wanted to share that as an example because that's just an easy way of understanding how karma works. And it's just like, karma is just the effects from an action that took place. And then, you go through those effects. And as you go through those effects, it gives you wisdom. It gives you the earth school lesson. And then that ultimately actually just keeps on raising you up. It keeps uplifting you and giving you even more wisdom. So when you come into that understanding, then you're able to, I guess you can say, is like, more consciously accept and feel and sense the experience of what is the eternal flow. And that is, cause happens, then I go through the effects, and then I have more causes and I go through the effects. And it continues from this body to a different body, to another body and beyond. And that's where a lot of this, ancient Buddhic Christ-like teachings come from, is be in the world but not of it. We're in this world, but we plugged ourselves into it to have an experience, but not really of this world. We're gonna leave this world at one point and go back to where we're from, which is the source. So miasma is basically like our terminology, or a way of identifying from this human perspective what that substance or energy is called that we carry as karma, basically. So miasma is the energy that gets built up whenever we're dense, whenever we're having blockages. And that is called the karmic energy that we're carrying, the miasma. And like Ra said, it's necessary. Because if we, so to say, did something that we didn't necessarily want to do and we regretted it, miasma gives us the opportunity to redeem ourselves from that regret. If we didn't have the miasma to look at or to experience or to face, then we wouldn't be able to shift ourselves, transform ourselves, or alchemize ourselves from what it is that we had now absorbed and collected into our energy field. So this is where you see that silver lining again between all things, that everything balances out with each other. So in the Ascension Glossary, miasma is described as a psycho-spiritual inherited distortion created by trauma, abuse, fear-based belief systems, and soul fragmentation. Over time, these distortions were genetically encoded into human DNA, leading to patterns of disease or imbalance. For definition, nature is energetic blockages in the body, encoded in negative ego behaviors or flawed DNA design passed through genetics and generations. Origin, rooted in ancestral trauma, toxic exposures, and destructive behaviors promoted by certain spiritual influences. Manifestation can appear as physical diseases, but often skips generations or manifests in altered forms, still tied to the original ancestral pattern. Planetary miasma. Synopsis with black, frozen, or dead light, generating a damaged morphinogenic field like a toxic waste product. The effects creates dead wiring and dead spaces in the Earth's energetic body, disrupting life force currents and causing genetic mutations. Manipulation, used by certain entities to grow karmic patterns and promote disease by altering DNA and RNA, such as inherited retroviruses, into the planetary grid. Wow, that just kind of like, that gave me an epiphany about something that has happened recently. Impact. If uncorrected, planetary miasma infects human DNA, the planetary grid network, and even other dimensions, creating pools of static dead energy that feed into the phantom matrix. Wow. Oh, it gives us the healing and clearing tools. So healers, Starseed and Indigo family members work to clear and transmute miasma by rehabilitating DNA tones, healing implants, and stabilizing the Earth's core. Tools, use of 12D hubs, threefold founder flame rainbow rounds, in alignment with the celestial management structure and guardians to release quarantine and restore vibrational health. And it's also where the law of one comes in. Anchoring in, embodying, and restoring the law of one within our consciousness is also a way to help clear this out and bring the harmonics. So key points to remember: miasma is interconnected to the vibrational theme of the entity is linked to. It can be passed on through vibrational resonance. It is recorded in cellular memory from the family of origin, influencing future generations. Clearing miasma is part of both personal spiritual healing and planetary restoration. In short, miasma in the Ascension Glossary is both a personal energetic inheritance and planetary energetic wound, requiring conscious work to transmute and release. And that is miasma. Very interesting.
Very interesting, right? Now you get to take what resonates from that, because guess what? The universe is infinite with information. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, right? This third density, our higher selves came into this density to play. At least I believe it. But just because I believe it doesn't mean you get to make it so. Okay? I believe our higher selves knew exactly what they were getting into. They knew that they were going to be veiled. They took on the challenge. They said, okay, I want this body. They said, okay, I want Sandee. I want her to be born at this time on this date with this amount of category in all these different categories. I want her to have brown eyes. I want her to have brown skin. I want her to have to have the ability to ask questions, even though she's not tuned in and tapped in to her higher self yet. She's going to ask questions. She's going to be so freaking annoying. She's going to annoy people. But that's going to be one of her challenges and hurdles that she jumps over so that she can take us on this journey. And yes, I said us. I don't believe I just have one higher self. I believe I have the higher self of consciousness. And I believe for me that they are a them. And I believe that whether I call it trauma or whether I call it an active mobile movement of energy through me, I'm still experiencing it. And sometimes I'm going to tell you, I've experienced some very uncomfortable stuff. And I did say at a point, why me? Not very often, because my main question, as I tell you guys, is always what now? But there were a few very uncomfortable moments where I said, why me? And didn't have any intuitive hits of what the answer was right then. But like Ross says, guys, we've got to experience this to get to the next level. And just because I get to the next level before you or even after you doesn't make me any better or less than you, because you are another version of me, consciousness, experience it itself. And if you are at some point in my story, there's a reason why I get to say, how come? What am I supposed to learn? Why did the words that they said to me cut so deep? Why do I feel this way? Those are answers that I get to I get to feel and take and bring to a resolution, if that's the purpose of it, and then grow from it. And sometimes it's saying, well, what did I put some shit out there that I wasn't aware of? I have to go back. Let me go back in my past and let me do it without judging myself. Ego is going to make you judge yourself so that you don't go back there. But you can go back there and say, tell your ego, quiet down a minute. I just got to observe this. Why? Because I'm the observer. That's all Ra is telling you. It's going to feel uncomfortable. If you want to call it trauma, it's going to be traumatic to you. And sometimes some people come into your life to activate you to the trauma that you need to heal from because you're stuck in it. And they made a bargain with you at the higher level and said, okay, I'll come in at that time and I'll help you through that. But guess what? They came into the experience being veiled as well. That blew my mind. They're in my story, but they're veiled as well, so they don't know they're having a story of their own, and it's making them the person that they are, and maybe it made them a little hardened. So when it came time to be there for me, to be in a vibrational modality to help me move to the next thing. Maybe their words weren't kind, but they helped you move. Going through that right now. And sometimes your best friends or family members can put you through a lot of stuff. But I'm learning what unconditional love is. I truly am. And going, well, how come I dislike them so much? Well, Sandee, it's not that you dislike them. It's what they did or said or are doing that you dislike. So how do you want to move now that you know this? It's a growth and expansion. What Ra is saying is we have to do it. It's part of the process of all the play. Life isn't supposed to be perfect. It's not going to feel great. You're going to be upset or disillusioned when people die, or disillusioned when you lose a partner, disillusioned when you grow out of the group of friends that you thought you'd always be friends with, disillusioned when you broke a leg or broke your arm. Disillusion. I was disillusioned. I had disillusion within me when I lost my grandson at 4 months old. When he died in his sleep. But I knew enough to ask a question. Why now? Right? This is all the divine is saying is, yeah, it's going to hurt, but that's the third density. Ra is saying it's going to hurt, but you got to do it. It's freaking part of the process.
It's going to hurt, but you got to do it.
Yeah. Haven't you ever heard your mother say, I know you're scared. You've got your flippy flops on. You got to jump in the pool. Right? You got to jump in the pool. I've learned to float, not happily, but I will say somebody will have to save me. I can float long enough for you to save me. But as much as I love the water, I don't love being in it unless it's a meditational bath or meditational, kind of hanging out, putting my feet in it or standing in it or whatnot. But swimming across the pool. But I did have to put on the floaties. I did have to jump in the pool. And I did have to trust that someone would bring me up and trust that person that helped me learn how to float. Not my most favorite thing to do. I'm glad I did it when I was young because it was easier for me to be fearless in the presence of my mother than not. In that part of the story, but I had to go through it. I had to go through that fear the first time my mother ever dropped me off at kindergarten. I held my mother's hand so tight. I remember her telling me that I cut off her blood circulation as we were walking to school my first day. She made a promise to me, guys. She said, I know, Sandee, you're scared. It's okay to be scared. Go in there, have some fun, and I telling you this. I will be here when you get out. And I watched the clock. I knew which hands that meant that it was 3 o'clock and it was time to leave. I knew what those hands meant because my mother taught me that. And I was watching as it clicked down, and the fear in me, okay, of her not being there, and I'm sitting there, right? And I remember all the kids running around me, and I'm just walking, this little kid just walking. And I remember what I had in me until I felt these 2 hands on my shoulders, guys. I know you think I'm going to say it was an angel. No, it wasn't an angel. It was my older sister and brother. They were at 5 years older than me, but nonetheless, grabbing my shoulders saying, come on, let's go. Mom's waiting. And I'm running with them, holding their hand. And at the gate, there she was. We have to go through this. Some of it isn't fun, but this is what Ra is saying. So what I did was I went back while he was showing us the description and the display. I'm going to read to you what miasma, what Ra said again. Ra said, I'm going to read you the question again. Questioner says, then you say that this effect is disassociation on the service to other adept, is a stumbling block or slowing process in reaching that goal to which he aspires, meaning the adept. You or me. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is incorrect. This disassociation from the miasma of illusion and misrepresentation of each and every distortion is a quite necessary portion of an adept's path. It may be seen by others to be unfortunate. It was unfortunate by others to look at me and see the tears in my eyes when I would talk about the passing of my grandson at 4 months. Unfortunate. But the miasma of it is that it had to happen. That was part of that story. Not just my story, but my son's and his wife's story as well, because I was part of that story. It's part of third density to have these stories. That's why my higher being came here to have these stories. That's why it knew it was going to be veiled, because it knew it was going from a higher vibrational modality or dimension and diving into a lower modality or dimension so that it can have a multiplicity of stories or experiences. And not all of them were going to be bad, and not all of them were going to be great, but the opportunity of learning through the unconditional vibrations of everything that is and is not. This is all Ra is saying. We can tell you that it's illusion, but your illusion, if we tell you it's an illusion, you get to, if you know that something is being created, instead of being perplexed by us telling you it's illusion, the next thing is that you are the creator. What do you want to create? Illusion is malleable. It's malleable. You can create from it. Illusion is energy. Energy has never been created, nor can it be destroyed. It can only change. So with that, I have one more reading from The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He named it The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment. It says, the title is called Realizing Pure Consciousness. And this is the question, is presence the same as being? When you become consciousness of being, what is really happening is that being becomes consciousness of itself, or conscious of itself. When being becomes conscious of itself, that's presence. Since being, consciousness, and life are synonymous, we could say that presence means consciousness becoming conscious of itself, or life attaining self-consciousness. But don't get attached to the words, and don't make an effort to understand this. There is nothing that you need to understand before you can become present. I am that I am. I am a higher being with a physical, beautiful body and a gorgeous conscious and unconscious mind having an experience. I don't have to break it down any further. I just have to go live my experiences. But for you, maybe being taught that, you need to break it down. And that's okay. For me, I had to break it down from elementary school all through junior high school and high school, why the Bible didn't answer all my questions. It wasn't I was knocking the Bible for someone else. It's that it wasn't giving me the answers that I needed. And I wanted to know why. Realizing pure consciousness. You are consciousness, and consciousness is aware. It always has been aware. You've just woken up out of slumber. Now you're utilizing body, mind, and soul. Growth and expansion wasn't made to be easy. It was made so that you can create an experience. Growth, understanding, understanding, and change. I'd like to thank you for being part of this journey with us of the Law of One, Book 4. Thank you for joining me, Sandra Marshall, Soul Awakening with Sandra. Join us next Wednesday for more raw experience and raw exploration. Same raw channel, same raw time. Over to you, Marcus.
As we close out, I have an oracle message for all of you in the collective, in this unified field that we share. And let's see what Ra and this beautiful Egyptian family would like to share for us as we close and continue on our travels in this living present moment. Remember, as we close this container today, not only did you experience a live or a podcast, but you experienced another living transmission of the all. And as we remember this and take this experience forward, may we recall that we are in our continuation in this energetic, karmic, and dharmic field. And what we have experienced here has been an experience accumulated into our auric field for us to discern and process at our own free will. So may we remember the continuation of every now moment and feel the beautiful silver lining that is flowing and streaming from this live to the rest of your night, into your next rising and beyond. Let's see what the Oracle has for us as we close. Okay, we got the Duat. D-U-A-T, the Duat. So the Duat is kind of like the all-permeating. It's like the totality of everything that is in creation. But I'll read for just a moment here. Oh, I actually stand correct. The Duat is the underworld. The Duat is the realm of shadows and death. You know, it's interesting because we talked about miasma. Miasma is what brings you more into this underworld. So the more miasma that's in your energy field, the more you're going to be in your shadows, or more you're going to be in your underworld of your own consciousness. So what a great pairing here. And the word I was thinking of when it comes to the whole creation as a whole is the Neteru. That was the word I was thinking of. The Neter or the Neteru. So the Dua is the underworld, or the shadow self, or the shadow world. And it's basically just saying, as you overcome each obstacle in your path and rise to each challenge, you are being remolded into a better version of yourself. Strength often comes from adversity, and the school of hard knocks teaches lessons that are never forgotten, but vital. In some readings, the Duat card indicates a punishment is forthcoming. This is more likely if the cards Sin or Amit are also present in the same spread. If your conscience is clear, then you have nothing to fear. Otherwise, try to make amends for any transgressions now, before you are called to account for them. And that is your message as we close, as it just perfectly aligns with the content of this episode. The Duat. Being the alchemist. Being the co-creator. And the law of karma. To take responsibility, accountability through the law of one. Of the density and the energies that are the effects of our causes as the sovereign being of free will. I leave you there, and may we continue to be blessed and be well. Wholeness and balanced love.